have a community of online businesses who meet every fortnight, and because we only meet for 1 hour, we don't really have time for a presentation as such. What we do in those meetings, we split up that time evenly between all the people, just to have a general chat about business, which is pretty cool. And they had a chance to jump on this call and tell us more about what they do in a longer presentation than 10 minutes. You can get up to half an hour, and we do them live on LinkedIn and Facebook. We also record them for our members, and we repeat them throughout the world of social media. So we do LinkedIn and Facebook as well, and we repeat them at weird times on a Sunday or maybe in the middle of the night, so we can attract more people to come and look at the repeats, and also to look at our members, and hopefully to do business with more people. And today, our first one of 2024, we have my co-host, who's normally my co-host. We have Caryn White here, and she would normally be co-hosting with me, but she's the first person of 2024 to jump on and tell us more about what she's going to be talking about. So Caryn, do you want to do a bit of an intro about yourself and tell us what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bobby. So Bobby's actually networking today. So I think your Wi-Fi is kind of going off and on a little bit. So I will try and fill it. I'm hoping he's not going to leave me here in the middle on this live by myself, but all the same. So yeah, so my name is Caryn White. I will share this in my slides later. But I am the founder of Caryn White Coaching. So I specifically empower women to navigate that corporate chaos. And so I'll be talking more about this. But the key topic for today is about how you can create work-life balance through using a time audit. And I'm going to be sharing the do's and don'ts from my recent time audit, that I've learned a lot from it and definitely gained a lot of insights into where I can change things up to create more balance in my life. So originally the plan was to do this audit to sort of on the idea of like, how can I help others? And then of course, as we find out, I end up helping myself a lot as well. So yeah, I'm excited to share this today. I think it's a great topic. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this. Thanks for the opportunity, Bobby.
Yeah, and it's we all know time is very important to anybody, not just business owners. It's the only thing we can't get back. And so by using our time in the most efficient way and structuring our time, and really looking forward to seeing how you can do an audit and the things you're going to talk about. So whenever you're ready, do you want to try and share your screen now, and we'll fill that awkward moment of, what's that going to share?
Yeah,
And
I'm
trying to
going to
find the
share my screen
slides
now.
and try not to give away all the things you're going to talk about in the slides.
I know, right? Then everyone sees
Yeah.
the end slide and they're like, oh.
Oh, thanks for that. See perfectly. Yeah. So whenever you're ready, the time is yours, and take it away whenever you're ready.
Hopefully you're still here when I finish.
Fingers crossed.
All right, awesome. Okay, so as mentioned, today I'm going to be talking about how you can start creating a work-life balance today, and that's specifically around a time audit and the do's and don'ts of that time audit. So agenda for today, just to give you, because we're not going to go for half an hour. I'm going to make it sort of like to the point so that we can gain a little value from this. So we're going to give an introduction to the importance of defining work-life balance. And this is going to lead into the conversation around how a time audit can help you. We'll talk about how a time audit will help you create that work-life balance, then go into the do's and don'ts of time audit. I'll be sharing some real-life examples that I have. I also do how you can do a simple analysis of that data, because it's great to have data, but if you do nothing with it, then it's kind of just data, right? So we're going to talk about how can we look at that data and make some changes. And then I'm going to also talk about, because I'm a life coach, I'm going to talk about how a life coach actually supports you to achieve work-life balance versus having to do it all by yourself. So today you will learn 3 key takeaways. It'll be like how to conduct a successful time audit, how to use that data from the time audit to start creating balance in your life, and then how a life coach can actually support you. And when I'm saying this doesn't necessarily have to be me, but I'm just talking about coaching in general. So as an intro, I've already done a brief intro, but my name is Caryn White. I'm a J. Shetty certified life coach. It's accredited by the Association of Coaching. I have 20 plus years in the corporate world working across commercial operations, and yes, I am an accountant. So I am also a CPA Australia certified practicing accountant as well. And specifically what I help people with is really empowering that stressed woman in the corporate world, navigating all that chaos to overcome the self-doubt. So that's like saying goodbye to your imposter, and then rebuilding that confidence. And when I say that, it's not saying that you don't have it. It's just kind of working through those obstacles. And then with that, it's really letting go of that fear, like, those things that are holding you back, and learning how to embrace that fear as opposed to really trying to suppress it and not deal with it. And then really focusing on that how do you cease that work-life juggle? So to lead into this, I really would love to share a journey. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment here. And I want to take you on a journey to kind of talk about why I have this passion right now for really helping and empowering people to work with the work-life juggle and to create that balance in their life. And so I did the survey. It was probably just under 30 women in the corporate space globally, and over 50% of them came back to me and said that their number one goal for this year was to figure out how to create more work-life balance in their life. And with that, they also shared what they thought the obstacles would be leading into that. So it was such things as juggling the personal and professional responsibilities. I think we can resonate with that. There was also that, just lots of work, like overloaded, deadlines to meet, projects, time sensitive. There was also parts there that within it, I could see that they were suffering from like that doubt, like they couldn't push back. There was boundaries. There was so many things in there. And I could sense within that, I'm like, oh my goodness. And it made me think about my own journey. Maybe not specifically corporate, I guess, but the memories that came up for me were from my corporate time. And so I wanted to share, just touch on this because this will lead into the rest of my presentation today. So if you can journey back with me to the year 2010, and some of you might have been a lot younger, I was definitely 14 years younger. And it was around budget time. So I worked for a corporate company where my job was very much focused around budgeting, forecasting, and analyzing data. And I remember sitting there, it would have been like maybe 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting in front of my laptop. My son was in bed, and my husband sort of came to me. He's like, look, I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. And he's like, don't stay up too late. I'm like, no, all good. And I'm looking at what I've got to do, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'll be done in a couple of hours. Even then, I'm feeling exhausted. Just being a mom, just a person in general, and working a lot was a lot anyway. Anyway, I'm working. And then when I happen to look at the time, of course, like 3 hours has passed. And you're like, oh my goodness. And I've still got this to-do list. And I'm like, I just have to keep going. I know I have to get up at 6 a.m., but I'm like, I just have to get all this stuff done. Otherwise, this is not going to meet those deadlines. So I keep pushing. I think it came to like maybe, I would say typical was maybe 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to bed and I'm literally falling into bed. Then the alarm goes, I get up, it sort of just starts over again, getting my son off to daycare, getting to work, walking into work. And I remember these times we would all come into work and we'd be talking about, oh, did you see so-and-so logged off before midnight? Like they mustn't have much to do. And then we would be talking about, oh, what time are you up to? Oh, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 3:30. And it was almost like we were wearing this like a badge of honor. And all around me, even though we knew this time of the year, budgets was known to be crazy. Like if you're in finance or whether you're involved in budgets in some way, right? They happen at this particular time. There's not a lot you can do about it. It just is always intensely busy. But it was like we were just in this condition to think that this was the way that you just had to be. And I remember times within these budgets over the years, and particularly this year, I remember we had this walk-in wardrobe which went through the bathroom. I remember coming out and not lying, but sitting on the floor in tears because I was so exhausted. And there was also the part I was pregnant. So I would have been 5, 6 months pregnant at the time. And my pregnancy wasn't easy, but I remember going, oh, I'm crying because I'm hormonal. Yeah, I'm exhausted because I'm pregnant. I remember putting all these excuses in my head saying that's what it is. And then I would have this mantra of like, just suck it up. It'll be over soon. Get up, get on with it. And I just get on with it. And I remember my husband saying, you have to look after yourself, come on, like look after yourself. Don't be silly. Just say no. And I'm like, no, don't be like, what are you talking about? No, this stuff needs to get done. And I would push. And this behavior, though I was pregnant every year, would continue year upon year. And when I reflect back now on that time, I recognize that a lot of this was because everyone around me was doing the same. No one in my workplace I ever saw or witnessed ever pushed back. If anything, people that worked harder got rewarded. And I'm not saying this is bad from the way work perspective, whatever it would be. I was also working part-time. So in a way, I'd been conditioned to believe that I was fortunate. My work-life balance was the fact that I got to work part-time. And within that time, I worked my full-time job on those hours and had 2 days off. So it became this kind of thing like, oh, I should be grateful. I get to work this senior job but I have time with my son on my days off, and I just work extra hours in the evening when my son is in bed. Forget about my own mental health and my own sort of like, health and stuff. And it became this ongoing way. And I share the story with you because even my husband last night, when I was sharing my presentation with him, he said, do you think if someone like you went back to you at that time and said, hey, you need to focus on work-life balance. This is not work-life balance. You need to do this and you need to, would you have listened? I'm like, probably not. Because the key was, I didn't think there was any way out. There was, to me, literally was no alternative. This work needed to be done. I was the only person that could do it. That's what I honestly thought. I thought that out of everything. And if I didn't do it, then I'm failing. If I didn't do it, then maybe I lose my job. Maybe I lose this privilege of having a part-time job. And there was so much internally driving me just to push past all the exhaustion, the tears, the frustrations, even my own health probably, my baby's health, to achieve these things, which ultimately, if I look back at it now, I'm like, if I had said I can't do it, they would have found someone else to do it. Or it wouldn't have been as perfect, right? It just would have been done, but it may not have been as 100% accurate as it was. And that's the reason why I share the story, because maybe within my story, you can see bits of yourself now or where you have been. And the key part is here, as I share my screen again, is really to just, let's get to that slide here, is really just to focus on, when it comes to work-life balance, how do you define it? And this is why it's really important to define it, because I honestly believe that if someone had said to me, Caryn, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to invite you just for a moment to step back from all of this and ask yourself, what does work-life balance look like for you? Not what everyone else around you is telling you it should look like, not what your work is telling you, not what society, not what all your colleagues are doing, but what does it look like for you and what does it feel like? I think for that moment, something would have started to resonate. And that's why as we go into this time audit, I invite you, if anything, right now, if you don't want to continue watching the rest of the presentation, I really want you to watch it. But if you don't, as I would say, take a screenshot of this and reflect on these questions for yourself and ask yourself, what does work-life balance look for me? Let's make it 3 months. For me now, in 3 months' time, assuming if I step back from everything I'm doing, don't put into the fact that you have all these things coming up. You might have project deadlines. You might have a whole lot of things coming up. Maybe you've got a month in like I have, or budgets. What would in 3 months' time, if you had a choice, what would it look like for you? What would you be doing more of? Would you be stepping back? Would you be making sure that you had time and having to put things in your diary, but to say me time? Would it just be hanging out? And if you actually are working part-time, maybe you actually are taking those days off. What would you be doing less of? What would you have stopped doing? Well, that's a big one. What would you have started doing? And then how do you feel when you have this work-life balance? Because I know now when I think about it, I'm like, if I was to think about it, that work-life balance, I'd be like, I would not be doing what I was doing. Work-life balance for me would mean that on my days off, I have a day off and I don't feel inside this drive to log in and check my emails. I don't have this internal kind of, I just have to check just in case, thinking of if I do check, then that will make my day the next day better when I get back into work. So if anything, I suggest, really reflect on these questions and understand what balance looks like, feels like, and how you would make those changes. Just an idea. Just write some things down and just see how that feels for you. Okay, so now we'll move with all that deep and heavy. We're going to move on to this number 2, which is about how a time audit helps you create that work-life balance. So as much as it's really important to define that, in the end, if you don't know where you're spending your time, because I know we all think we know. Like I definitely think I know, but once I did this, I'm like, oh no, I'm not getting that 8 hours of sleep that I think I'm getting. So it's really going to help you gain visibility on where you are actually spending your time. You're going to gain visibility on where you're more productive. You're going to see, oh, why was I so distracted? Because that's the next one is like, when are you most focused? And what are those distractions? I'm hoping I can share a screenshot shortly of the app that I used, and you'll see on a particular day when I first started, I am like jumping between tasks all the time. And I'm like, what is going on? And when I look into them, it's because at that time when I was trying to do really focused work, I had my family home. So they just got home from like school, and of course they want to chat. And where I work is in a space where they can actually access me, even if I have headphones on. So it really gains that visibility, even though it's really obvious until you track it, it's not obvious. And I know that sounds stupid, but literally it isn't. It's like you think you know, but you don't know. So number 3, the do's and don'ts. So it comes into what I'm talking about. Do take 10 minutes to choose categories to group the tasks under. Don't do what I did initially, which was create like so many categories because I wanted so much data. Because, like, as I mentioned, that's my background, analysis. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I want an nth degree. It gets silly. You forget where you put things and stuff. Just choose some key categories based on your life and break them down. Maybe it's, in your workplace, maybe it's like work meetings, work focus work, or whatever it might be, just like project work. But thinking maybe 3 categories for each and don't go too far, things that you want to gain and sort of get perspectives on. And obviously sleep would be a key one as well. Choose a method of tracking that is simple and you're able to do everywhere. When I did my time audit, I suggested an app called Toggle. Please reach out to me if you'd like to know it. I find it really great because it's an app you can have on your desktop and on your phone. However, when I shared with many people, they're like, oh no, I don't do apps, or that seems too complicated. So choose something that's simple for you. And that might be as easy as having a little notebook in your bag or something, or with you, or even just using your notes app and just writing in, some little bits and pieces as you go, but something that's going to be with you all day so that you can track it. Track from the moment you wake till you go to bed. Don't just go, oh, my day is over at work, I'm going to stop tracking and just call that evening. You'll find there'll be things that you do in the evening potentially that maybe you want to change. So make sure you do track that time and you take note of the time when you actually how much you're sleeping. And do schedule in 10 minutes a day when you can reflect on the data that you've had for that day before, or even in the evening before you're going to bed, to reflect on it. Because the actual, as I'll share soon, the analysis and the daily analysis, you'll gain so many insights from that rather than waiting until the week is over. In terms of don'ts, don't try and be perfect. Like, just focus on the mantra of imperfect action. If you miss a task or tasks, it's totally okay. Just remember what it is and go, okay, it was about this. It's okay. It's not going to destroy the world if you accidentally miss a couple of tasks. So focus on the fact of just getting some data in there and then go back and then add it back in if you need to. Don't make it up. You're the only one that's cheating yourself. I did, like, literally, initially, I'm like, oh, I had about this much. And I'm like, what am I doing? So don't make the data up. It is what it is. Put it in there. This has been an honest reflection about where you're at that week on a typical week, because don't judge yourself. Okay, this will be helping you. And this is the intention behind it, is like how it's going to help you. So don't make it up, and then don't judge yourself if you do accidentally make it up. Just put the data in there and just see it for what it is, data. And don't stop halfway through and think you've captured everything, because as you will find, weekends are quite different, or certain days during the week are quite different to other days. So do an entire week at least, just to sort of see how it goes and be conscious of that. So number 4 is, how do you now, with all this data, then start creating your balance? So it really is about simple as opposed to complex. So as mentioned, do analysis on the go. Take notes of your findings and you note it on a bit of paper or something. I had like Post-its in different parts when I had a moment of like, oh my goodness, focus on your energy levels at certain times. What distractions, what are they? Children for me. Sleep patterns, what's happening in your life? Is there certain things going on? Check your previous data, as mentioned, put aside 10 minutes. Everyone has 10 minutes. Even if you're on the bus or the transport to work, put that 10 minutes aside just to reflect on what happened the day before, and ask yourself, does this seem like a balanced day or not? And why do you think that? Because when you start coaching yourself in a way to ask yourself these questions, you start to go, actually, that didn't feel like a good day. Or actually, yeah, that felt like a great day. I enjoyed that. Why? Why was that a good day? What happened? Did you have a better balance of things? Because ultimately, like I said, work-life balance for you is quite different to others and everyone else. So it's really figuring out, you may have had a day which others would look at and go, oh my gosh, that's crazy busy. You've got back-to-back meetings, but you may have thrived on that because the things that you're doing your meetings, you absolutely love, and you just have really high energy. So do be mindful of that and make those notes as you go. And then try new things as you go. I initially wasn't going to do this, but I realized very soon on, as I was sharing my data, that there were certain things that I'm like, I just don't like the fact that I do this and it's not working for me. And this is the reason why I'm feeling really tired the next day. So I made changes straight away to sort of see how that changed as I went. And I realized that, yeah, I had these terrible habits and I needed to break them. And it was really hard. But I'm like, no, I want to see it because I want to see if this changes the way that I feel it during the day and how much more productive I am. So try new things as you go. So once you're complete with your analysis, this is kind of like a quick analysis. I don't like to confuse because I like spreadsheets and colors and stuff like that. So this is what I created, but the Toggle app does actually download this data for you. And it's very pretty. And so as you can see here, this is kind of how I've kind of put things apart. It was a lot worse before. I've tidied it up. But do total your data up for each category. Focus on the big picture. So I have probably combined about 6 or 7 other categories into one because I had them all split up. But when I looked at, these are the ones I want to kind of look at and see where I'm spending my time. Chores particularly, I didn't like the fact that I spent 7 hours on chores. I don't need to be doing that. That's not value adding. Ensure the hours equal the entire week. That's important. And then calculate those percentages. So that's what I like to look at. I like to say, okay, percentages, how much percentage of my time? Obviously, this includes a weekend as well. So you will see that obviously I have more personal time. That's because in the weekend, I chose not to do my normal stuff that I would do during the week. But it gives you a really good understanding of what's going on. And the key is to combine the data, the qualitative and the quantitative. So what I mean by that is, for example, there's my quantitative data. So I've kind of split that out. I've taken the hours that I've totally and divided it by 7 just to get a kind of a quick. And I know it's not real because it does include the weekends, but it gives me an idea of like, oh yeah, okay, I was averaging about 8 hours. I wasn't averaging 8 hours at the beginning. I was 6, 5, something like that. So what I learned, my qualitative data, which I'd made notes for, is that Monday, I can try to be incredibly focused, but I need time to wind down from the weekend. So I need that morning just to be a bit of me time, a time to sit, plan, but quiet. Like if I'm trying to jump into meetings at that time, it can get really hectic really fast for me. And that's just how I feel. So I really need to make sure I've got time in the morning on a Monday where I just get to take it a bit slow for a few hours before I jump into the day. Muting notifications. I wasn't doing that. I was jumping on chats and I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm just checking that quickly. And then I'll get stuck in that chat. And it might be a business related one, or it might be like a personal thing, but I would find myself stuck in that. And before I knew it, half an hour had passed and I'd be like, oh, I haven't even done anything I planned to do. Again, I know this, but I didn't know this until I did my time audit. I read in bed normally before I go to bed, and that absolutely sleep because I get lost in the book. And then 2-3 hours later, when it's past midnight, I'm still awake and I'm like, oh, hang on. And I've lost complete track of time. So that was something that just doesn't work for me as much as I enjoy it. It doesn't work for me. And so that was one of the things that I started trying. Okay, what if I read out in the lounge as opposed to in bed and then set this time to sort of go to bed? And that made a huge difference in terms of my hours of sleep, plus just the way that I felt in the morning and how I went to sleep as well. Setting that intention and taking 15 minutes in the morning for me and the evening to reflect and plan made me more productive and less overthinking because my brain is becoming trained to knowing that I'm going to be looking at it these times. So I just know when I finish the end of the day, I'm like, I'm all good for tomorrow. I'm not stressing during the night. I'm not thinking about these things. I'm not getting up in the morning feeling anxious. So these are the things that I learned by combining the data because I looked and I'm like, okay, so I'm getting good sleep, but am I? So as I looked through the week, I noticed that it went from 6, but now it's obviously average 8 because I had more on the weekend, basically. But effectively, you can see here, like there was a lot of like, okay, I've got this personal time, what's going on there? There was also stuff like just learning like one-on-ones, all this kind of thing, exercise. I'm like, yay, I was getting the exercise I wanted. That was like, there was some really good wins there, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so how can I continue this? Like, what do I want to change? And that's my question to you is like, when you look at your data, what do you want to change? There's no judgment. It literally is. What do you want to change to help you feel the way that we talked about at the very beginning to feel more balanced? When you think about that feeling you want to have in 3 months' time, what do you need to change today to start creating that? And how are you going to do that? I'm not going to tell you how right now because this is for you to go, is it as small as me going, actually, when I'm going to bed at night, I'm getting distracted by X, Y, and Z. So I need to change that. What is that? For me, it was reading. That's all I did. And it was hard. Like I was having this voice in my head going, just read something, you'll be fine. And I had to actually literally go, no. So there's these little things like how can you change it and start with one little thing. Don't try and do 10 at the same time. One, just one little thing of how you can do and how to change it. So lastly is like, how does a coach help you create work-life balance? Because, there's lots of us out there, but there is some really amazing coaches that can help you. And effectively, this is how I would help you was we have a framework that we can help you define what your work-life balance is. As you would have seen, reflecting on those questions is really helpful, but sometimes you have those blind spots. I have blind spots where you don't see where you're maybe this is happening. And what you often need is someone to reflect back to you to let you know, go, hey, have you thought about this? It sounds like this. And we have a framework around that of how we can take you through that process to really help you define it. When you get to that point where you're like, yeah, this is what the best work-life balance would be for me. This is what it feels like for me. And this is what it needs to be like. How do I get there? So we also help you identify those obstacles. What's coming up and get in the way? You may think it's something, maybe something a bit deeper, or it may just be something that you haven't actually thought of or realized. I certainly didn't when I think back to my time in corporate, when I shared that example with you. I didn't recognize that there was these internal drivers within me. It took me a lot of time to actually figure that out. I just thought I was conditioned, but I didn't actually know that there was a deeper drivers within me, that I was doubting myself, that I was thinking I had to prove myself. I had to be grateful for this position I'd been given. So there's a lot of that. And from that, we will work out and together come up with some strategies that can help you overcome these obstacles. And then supporting you through that entire process, motivating when you're feeling like when you're feeling demotivated, helping you find that motivation, holding you accountable to those changes that you want to make. And most importantly, ensuring that you have everything that you need for ongoing success after the relationship ends and so ongoing. So that's how a coach can help you. You can start to do this by yourself, though, as I shared. You take that one step, do a time audit. And even though it may seem like, oh, no, do a time audit. Figure out where you're spending your time. And when you know that awareness is key, when you know where you're spending your time, you can then start to make those changes. So how I can support you is connect with me on LinkedIn. You're watching this on LinkedIn now. Connect with me, please. Reach out to me. Let me know your thoughts around this presentation. Any reflections, please share. And then also, connect with me. I'll provide one-on-one sessions, but I also have a monthly newsletter, a bi-monthly newsletter. There's also some courses and resources on my website, and then obviously I share blogs and reflections. So those are all ways that I can help you and support you, and they don't all have to come at a cost. So that's the beauty of like social media and stuff like that, right? You can actually tap into and find different things on social media that can actually help you, and different tips and tricks as well. So yeah, that's for me. So this is about creating balance. Do one thing today. Define what balance means for you. Sorry, that's two things. Define what balance is for you. Just get an understanding of that. And then secondly, start a time audit. Set it up for this weekend and start and kick it off on Monday. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caryn. And it's amazing when you see that spreadsheet with the figures on it, and you see that and you go, what was your first thoughts when you did your first one? Did you think that can't be right? I can't be doing that in that time doing that.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh my God, I have so much personal time. I was like, oh, and it's weird because I was like, oh, I should be spending more time on my business. And isn't that interesting? Like you automatically go to this. But then when I look at it, I'm like, no, because there's other things that I do outside which actually help me so that I'm actually more efficient in my business. I don't have to do the typical 40 hours, right? So that was an interesting thought that sort of popped up. It's like, oh yeah, it makes you feel like you have to stick to the Monday to Friday, 40 hours. And that kind of came up, and I did think, oh yeah, that's a lot of personal time. But then I'm like, when I broke it down, because within Toggle you could track what the personal time was made up with, and there was like, it was evening routine, morning routine, it was like meditation, it was but different bits and pieces. It was catching up with a friend, it was, there was different things in there, and I'm like, no, that's good stuff. That's good stuff for me. That helps me be better for myself, and I don't want to give that up. So yeah, when I looked at it, there was, like I mentioned, sleep was probably the biggest thing I mentioned. I think we've discussed it before, that I noticed very early on that when I would wake up in the morning and see it says I've had 6 hours and 34 minutes of sleep, I'm like, that's why I'm tired. Oops. And then the next day, same. I'm like, oh dear. And then I was like, okay, what's going on? And I realized, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to bed at like a decent hour, but I'm then reading for 2.5 hours. And that's not, and I lose track of time because I get so engrossed in this book. So then that was like, I need to stop that because I'm just on that like a little comfort zone. I'm like, it's all nice and cozy and I've got my book in front of me. And yeah, so I've changed that. And it was hard. For the first couple of weeks, I had the little voice telling me I should just pick up a book. Go on. And so now I take that and do that outside. I just don't do it before bed. I sit out here in the lounge and do it instead or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting.
And so when you first got that data, did you look at it and go, right, well, if I take 2 hours from the chores as an example and put that on something else, was that the kind of process you went through your head? How did you
Yeah,
go
I
from
was
the first one to the next one?
yeah, no, there was definitely like, so the first of all, it was that judge. I say don't judge yourself, but I was judging myself. And that's probably why I'm sharing don't judge yourself. So yeah, so once I did look at the data, I was like, okay, where do I want to make some changes? I was really pleased with the amount of exercise I had because that's really important for me. And I think I did look at it and go, okay, so in terms of my business, this is how much of time I looked at the time when I was doing the chores. And so now it's sort of like, okay, I was trying to fit that in. There's certain things I had to do because I work from home and just it's helpful to hang the washing up or whatever. But I'm sort of like, no, I don't need to be doing this here. I can actually, at this point in time, I don't have to make sure everything's perfect and ready to go. So it was like, yeah, when I'm looking at going 7 hours on chores, and that was only really probably a Monday to Friday sort of, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm realizing I'm doing all these things, and I'm like, I don't have to. So I could shift this around. And it's like if I just maybe prep things or get my kids to help because they can cook, that will give me more time and that allows for this or whatever. The personal time I did look at, and I think, okay, some of that I could actually put into other things as well if I wanted to. It wasn't all 100% typical week either. Like there was a couple of things where I went for longer walks with friends than normal. And like with the business stuff as well, like depending on when clients are available, that makes a difference as well. So there's definitely what I did like about it was that I can see that as I bring on more clients, I have got that flexibility to add them in, which was a good thing to see as well, was that there is room there. I can actually move things around. So yeah, little things. Generally okay once I sorted the sleep issue.
Yeah, and it's amazing what can happen once you know. It's like anything with any data. That's why we have it, so we can understand what's happening, what happened, so we can predict what's going to happen again. But we don't know where our time's going unless you go and do this. And you have to be structured around what you do. And some people say to me, "Oh, it's really boring. Like it's not, you can't. How do
No,
you live your life?" No, because
it's
it
not
shows you,
boring.
frees you up. It frees you time. You realize, oh my God, it's taking me 4 hours to do my social media posts. I can read that in an hour. If I do that in an hour, that gives me 3 hours to go and do
What I want.
whatever I want. Go
Well,
and have
even
some more sleep.
yeah, even the like the 10 minutes, like I said, having I now again, I know it, but now having the specific times when even in the morning, and it's not a long time, you just are sitting there going, right, and just getting in that habit, building that habit of like, right, start the day, do this. Doesn't matter what's coming up, just making sure I have that time to do that. That's made a huge difference because it settles you, right? And like you're saying, having those things scheduled and that time, and we call it time blocking, but having those things in your calendar, it just settles you. You just know I'm all good. I don't have to be like, am I going to miss something or do I not have time for this? You literally are like, no, I'm fine because I've got this in my calendar and I know I'm going to do it. And I think that's the key part, but you need to schedule in your me time as well. You do, like you literally do, because I wasn't. I was like, oh, I'll go to the gym or I'll go for a walk when I've got time. And then, of course, a meeting would be booked in or something would run over. So it was being really intentional with that and setting up your day in that way of having a plan and going, yep, I'm going to make sure like that's important for me and making sure you do it. And chores, for example, weren't scheduled in my calendar before. Now I'm actually like, no, this is when I'm going to do them. And I'm not going to do them any other time because before that takes up, like, look at it, 7 hours. Like some people might like it takes me longer. No, like we have someone that comes and cleans once a week, like, but I'm still doing these things. So I don't enjoy them. That's the thing I don't enjoy. So it's really recognizing like I'm just jumping up and doing them, but that takes up time and my focus away from things. So it's like, no, this is when I'm going to do them. So I think, yes, it feels like it's structured and maybe rigid, but it actually gives you so much more freedom. I agree.
And even just that small change of going, oh, well, hold on a minute. I'm doing most of the chores on a Saturday, which is really me time.
Yeah.
Why don't I do them in the week, which is really kind of like,
You're moving
most
about
people
anyways.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And so you may as well do that. And then that gives you more time on the weekend. Like I used to do shopping on a Saturday, and I'd do my head in because I'd be like, oh God, we're doing something else.
It's like
So now
half
we
your
do it on a
day's gone,
Thursday
right?
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do it Thursday night. Yes, I'm tired, I don't want to go anything, but the payoff is, hey, I go, it's quieter because it's not Saturday.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it done. It means I've got all Saturday to go and do it. But I'm sure we have some questions on LinkedIn and Facebook, but Caryn's going to go back and have a look at those and answer those for you. But I do have a question for you here, which is, what is the best piece of advice you received from someone that has helped you in your business journey?
Yeah, I think it's probably come from you, Bobby, and I don't want to stroke your ego in there, but I think, and lots of people say it, but it definitely is. I would say it's surrounding yourself with the right people. And that is definitely, I think I didn't appreciate the value of networking until I started and recognized how much people can help you, and they give so much without expecting anything in return. Not saying everyone's like that, but definitely the people that I've met on my journey have given so much of their time and their value to help me. And now, of course, naturally, I'm giving back as well. And I think that has been the most valuable part of my journey, is really focusing on those people that you're connected with, and yeah, really valuing them when you find those people that you can trust and that support you for who you are, and not there to get anything from you, but in the end you end up giving them more because you just really value that. And it's not like you gave me this, so I have to give you this. It's just very natural. And yeah, so I would say the best piece of advice is really having the right people in your life, whether you're in business for yourself or whether you're in a career, having those people around that you support you and just really, yeah, are your biggest champions. And just really, when you have those moments, you can reach out to them and go, oh my goodness, this happened, and they can celebrate with you. Yeah, really valuable.
That's right. And it's surrounding ourselves with people, yes, who we can look up to and follow, who have been down the journey we're going to, but also remember, do it the other way. You want people to help you and support you. You've got to go the other way. So people who are coming in who maybe have less experience, we need to be guiding those people and pass that knowledge down.
Yeah.
Because helping people really, for me anyway, makes me feel good. It's less strain on me, and I really enjoy that side of it. But Caryn, thank you so much for jumping on. If you'd like to meet Caryn, you can always come along to Bobby's Business Club. We meet every fortnight. It's only 1 hour, and it's a great way to network and meet amazing people. But thank you so much for being part of our network, and thanks for being so amazing at what you do and bringing these amazing initiatives and tips to our network. And we'll see you again soon.